It's about 5:35, and we want to keep this on schedule since this is a publicly noticed meeting. And the reason for that is because you have three supervisors here. You have a majority of the board, so we have to handle it like a Brown Act meeting. So my name is Rich Desmond, Sacramento County Supervisor representing District 3. Just a little further away. These are very sensitive mics. Thank you all for being here. I know it's difficult to come out for a meeting in the middle of the week, but this is an extremely important project to Sacramento County, and we made a commitment a long time ago as this project started moving, that we would come back regularly to the community to report back to you and hear from you when we would hit certain benchmarks. And we're at one of those benchmarks right now where we actually have a design, and this is going to be coming to the Board of Supervisors within the next few weeks. About going out for a bid on this project. So this seemed like an appropriate time to reconvene with all of you. And Supervisor Phil Cerna here on my right represents District 1. He'll say a few words in a moment. Supervisor Sue Frost from District 4 will also say a few words. But I think what the three of us being here, I think it speaks volumes about the Board of Supervisors really our alignment on supporting this project and supporting Sacramento County's approach to dealing with our homelessness crisis that affects all of us in so many different ways, whether you're someone who's suffering from untreated mental illness and addiction without housing on the streets, to a business owner or a member of the community who is being challenged with some difficult homeless encampments in your community. It means a lot for the three of us to get together to be at this meeting. So I really appreciate my colleagues being here because this is on the border of all three of our districts as well. And then before we move into the program, I'll introduce a few other people. Emily Halcon, where are you, Emily?
I'm right here.
Oh, Emily Halcon, over there, our Director of Homeless Housing Services and Homeless Housing and Services. You'll hear from her. Natasha Drain from our Department of General Services. Over this side, Brian Lowe, also with our Department of General Services. Julian Andrade, one of the contract architects from Knorr Associates, and then one of the operators of this site, this project, will be Jessica Bruce with CityNet. She's sitting over here, and I also have sitting up here, and they won't be providing presentations, but Ron Linthicum, he's one of our community prosecutors from the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office, and Ron wanted to come, as did one of the sheriff's deputies who runs our homeless outreach team. And I think that's important as well, because what it does, it demonstrates that the county is primarily interested in providing services for people so we can improve their lives, but also having a balanced approach and working hand in hand with law enforcement when criminal actions occur and they need to hold some people accountable for those actions. So I will now turn it over to Supervisor Cerna to say some opening remarks.
Great, thank you, Supervisor Desmond. So again, as Rich mentioned, at the outset of this particular project and effort to address the needs of both those that are unsheltered in this area as well as the local community of North Highlands, we also want to make sure that we're being extremely transparent. And this is now, is it the second or third? Third meeting here with local neighbors. See a lot of familiar faces. You know, I've had the good fortune, as I mentioned in the past, of representing this area 2 redistricting exercises ago. But nonetheless, the uniqueness of the convergence of 3 different supervisorial districts that brings along with that the focused concentration of 3 out of 5 board members, I think bodes well for a thoughtful project and effort, one that will necessarily benefit from the input that we get from all of you that we have the honor of representing. We don't claim to have all the answers, and this needs to be somewhat of a team approach between your county board members and county staff, as well as yourselves taking the time to participate in meetings like this. I will say, too, that things are very fluid. What has changed since the last time we convened here? Well, quite a bit. We've had another biannual count of, or census of the unsheltered in our community and the broader community. We do that every 2 years, working with the federal government, with HUD, to understand the nature, characteristics, and order of magnitude of homelessness in our community, just like communities across the country. Of course, I think we now know from the media reports following the last point in time count that the numbers have actually come down. I will tell you, as one member of the board, I don't, and I have never put a lot of stock in those numbers. I have not put a lot of stock in that exercise. It's obviously very needed. We need to understand who we're trying to help. But the fact of the matter is that it's a very limited ability effort to try and understand, especially the extent to which folks are unsheltered here in our community, because it relies on 1 or 2 nights of volunteers showing up to go out and do the interviews and the counting. And if we have bad weather, or for whatever reason we have fewer volunteers that show up, that can dramatically affect the numbers. So I'm of the opinion that we're still very much in the same place that we've been in for a few years now in terms of the order of magnitude and the challenges that we face, regardless of what the point in time count tells us. We've also had a recent opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court on Grants Pass, and some of you I know have been following that legal matter. And the decision by the Supreme Court essentially gives cities and counties across the country much more latitude than the last time we met here in terms of what we can do to both balance the needs of the unsheltered that need our compassion, need our assistance, need a robust continuum of care to get them to a place where they can succeed. But it also, I think, balances out the needs of local communities who, rightfully so, are very, very fed up. And I think you can count us as well in many respects, fed up with the impacts that come along with what was presumed to be kind of the open ability to just pitch a tent anywhere. Well, we now know that that's not legally the case. So again, I just wanted to thank everyone for showing up tonight, and look forward to hearing from you. And I'll pass the mic to my colleague, Supervisor Sue Frost, representing District 4.
Thank you, Supervisor Cerna. Well, first, I want to thank the staff and the consultants who have worked so hard on all the safe stay facilities and put together some amazing ideas on them. I want to thank all of you for coming. I see many leaders from the community of North Highlands here, and I know for those people in my district, that was one of the things they expressed when we began having this conversation around doing a safe stay on Watt Avenue, is how is it going to affect the businesses and the community. And we really appreciate Emily and everyone that you have arranged these community meetings so that everyone can be here to not only express their ideas and concerns, but actually get an idea of what this is going to look like. The first 2 safe stays, I'll never forget the first one. It was not easy. It was in Supervisor Kennedy's district, and there was a lot of controversy around it. And those first 2 are up and running, and not only are they running I think pretty smoothly from what I'm hearing. They're almost full, and there's people transitioning through, and we're having some good success there, and not without challenge. But the benefit that we have here is that we can learn from those other 2 facilities and the programs there and improve on it. And I think today you're going to be amazed when you see this update that they deliver to us. This is going to be the largest so far, and I know there have been delays. The other supervisors have referred to those delays, and it's an evolving situation, not only with construction and bids and cost and there's a lot of moving pieces, and also the dynamic of, what are the needs that we have in the county that we're not serving as well, and in this amazing facility, what can we do? What more can we do? Which is what we're always reaching for, striving for at Sacramento County. So again, thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say after you hear the presentation, and I'll turn it back to our tonight's chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Supervisor Desmond.
I guess I am just by default. So thank you, Supervisor Cerna and Supervisor Frost. Just want to add to some of their comments. Very appreciate Supervisor Cerna talking about the point in time count, the recent point in time count, the recent development with the grants pass case, and kind of that balance that we try to take in Sacramento County. I'll quote Supervisor Cerna from a community event he attended when in my district after a very tragic event involving a constituent. He talked about how the county has two very important sacred obligations. One is to help people in need, help people get what they need. If there's someone who is homeless, get them off the streets, get them into shelter, get them treatment for their mental illness and addiction, and into a path to independence and to permanent housing. But we have an equally important obligation, is to make sure people are safe in their businesses, in their communities. And those are not mutually exclusive. We can do both of those things. And that's really something that you've seen. Supervisor Frost alluded to what we're seeing on Florin Road with those safe stay communities, with our good neighbor policy, with our ongoing outreach and engagement at those shelter sites. These have been improvements in the community with a focus on really cleaning up encampments in the nearby community and making the spaces available in those safe stays to people who are camping nearby. It's made a tangible difference. And that's our commitment here in this area as well. Something I think we're all going to remain committed to as this continues to move down the road. And to that end, one other person I wanted to introduce today, we have Sergeant Jason Winkle. He's the sergeant over the Sheriff's Department Homeless Outreach Team. And I appreciate he and Ron Linthicum being here because they know to make this work, to make it work all the way around for the safety of the residents of this new safe stay community, as well as the surrounding residents and businesses, we do need that partnership with law enforcement. So thanks for being here as well, Jason. So the way the rest of this will go is we're going to hear a few presentations from starting with Emily Halcon, then Natasha from our county DGS, and then from our contract architect from Knorr Associates. And then we will turn it over for questions and answers. The way we're going to do that is have you just line up at the podium over here and pose your question to whichever panelist is most appropriate to answer that question. And that's how this will go. And I think we have this set from 5:30 to 7, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what? 5:30 to 6:30. We can certainly go a little beyond that if need be. But with that, I'll turn it over to Emily Halcon.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. I'm Emily Halcon. I'm the director of the county's Department of Homeless Services and Housing, and really appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to just say a few things. I really want to leave most of the time today to talk with Knorr and DGS because today's focus is about the design. But wanted to give a really high-level overview of what we do and what our role is in running these safe stays. So my department's primary responsibility really is to find permanent solutions for people experiencing homelessness. And that means both preventing homelessness and helping people move out of homelessness. But we also carry a very big obligation to the community, to all of you who may not have experienced homelessness ever and hopefully never will. To the supervisor's point, we recognize the impact of homelessness on the broader community. And so our role is twofold here, really. First, to serve folks who are experiencing homelessness, but to be responsive to the broader community in which those people are living. Similarly, as the supervisor was saying about the role of law enforcement, we work every day. Sergeant Winkle and our teams deploy together, and we recognize that we need to work well together. But my goal is always to help get law enforcement out of having to be engaged. It's better for all of us if people can get to a voluntary yes, if people can on their own come to an agreement that they are ready to accept shelter or other services. And so programs like this, like the Safe Stays, really have been instrumental in helping people get to that voluntary yes in a much more quick and compassionate way. And so the Safe Stay concept really was born at the direction of the Board of Supervisors post-COVID, when we recognized the willingness and ability for people to engage with services is heavily increased when you provide a facility that meets their needs. It provides a few really key things. First is non-congregate shelter, so places where you can have a door that can close and can provide a sense of security and safety, that you can bring your dog in with you, or you could shelter with your partner, whomever that might be, that is open and available with rich on-site services 24/7, and that's the role that CityNet plays for us. Is they're there 24/7, providing a whole host of wraparound services for the clients there, and that those services are primarily targeted at connecting people to housing, but also behavioral health services, addiction services, benefit services, really with the goal of permanently exiting people from homelessness. We want this to be a path out of homelessness for the folks that we're serving. And so, as I said, we do this in partnership. Clearly, the Supervisor Desmond named a lot of our partners. CityNet will be the on-site operator 24/7. My staff will be heavily engaged on a daily basis, directing their work, working with the community, reporting out data to you as well as to the supervisors, and overseeing the contract and services. We also work very closely at the front end of getting people into the shelter. We carry contracts for outreach services, and those outreach professionals will be reaching out to people who are experiencing homelessness right here in this community and getting them ready to move in. And then at the back end, we work with our system partners on those exits. So connecting people into housing or other services that are really necessary for them. I'm happy to talk more about this. I do want to give most of the time to DGS and NOR, and so if there's more detailed questions about how we do this, our program, certainly the CityNet people are here, and 3 of my staff, Susan, Angel, and Yvonne, are all here. If you have any detailed questions, we're happy to engage more in how these programs work and our experience on the ground, so really appreciate that.
Hi, good evening. Natasha Drain, Deputy Director, Department of General Services. I'll keep my remarks very brief. Julian will go through the details of the design for the Safe Stay community. Just wanted to mention at a high level as a reminder, we're talking about 4837 Watt Avenue. This is a 13-acre site. It's improved with a 130,000 square foot warehouse situated between Winona Way and Myrtle Avenue, and abuts a business park and a fast food restaurants and a clinic to the west and east, respectively. Also wanted to note that the full cost of this project currently is estimated at $48.6 million. And at full build-out, we are expecting to have 189 sleeping cabins, which can house up to 225 guests. We'll have 50 safe parking spaces and 75 congregate beds for weather respite, as well as facility improvements to support the Safe Stay operations. Again, Julian will go through those details. And as Supervisor Desmond mentioned, we'll be back before the board on August 6th. We'll be asking the board or seeking approval to bid the project to a contractor. And then we'll be back before the board in late October to seeking approval to award the project to a contractor. We estimate construction to begin on the project in the beginning of January of 2025 with about a 12-month duration for that construction schedule. We'll validate that construction schedule once we have the contractor on board. With that, I'm happy to hand it over to Julian to go through the design details.
Good evening. My name is Julian Andrade. I'm a principal architect with NOR, and I'm leading the design of the project. And the things we heard for the design was safety, security, cleanliness, and also a dignified place for people to go, to something that's better than where they are currently and to get them off the street. So we created several neighborhoods. Let me just back up a little bit. We were contracted in, let's see, was it May, I think? So we had about 4 months to put this together. And I have an amazing team behind me that's done all the work. And I just get to come out here and present to everybody. So with that, as Natasha said, we're hoping to house up to 350 people on the site. There's... see, I have the numbers here in front of me. 225 people in the tiny homes. There's 2 neighborhoods of doubles and 4 neighborhoods of singles. We have restroom cores in each one, and each one of the communities faces towards a little community area to provide community for the people in the area. We have 3 different populations. The first population is the Safe Stay community, the people that are living in the tiny homes. We have another population of about 50, up to 50 people in the parking, the Safe Stay parking area. And then we have another 75 beds for the weather respite for inclement weather. If it's too hot or too cold, they can come here and stay the night. And should I get up and go to the boards? Okay, that would be much easier. So these are some images. Can you all hear me? Great. So these are images of some of the other safe stays around the state. The homes come in flat packed, manufactured off-site. They're brought on site, put together, and stood up. They have electricity, and that's it. There's no running water inside the homes. There's no restrooms, but there are restrooms at each of the neighborhoods. So there's 6 different restrooms. There's laundry rooms and a community room for each one of the neighborhoods. So you can see the different sizes of the tiny homes here. So when they arrive, there's a check-in and for the residents. They intake, they're assigned a case manager. We have a cafeteria, and on this side here, it's segregated, but for the parking area, we're keeping the population separate. So we have they have a place to eat on both sides of a central core here, which is our food prep area. They have a shelter community training and a computer lab for job training and building resumes and help people transition from the streets into permanent housing and to get jobs. And then up here, we have our weather respite, the weather response area with about 75 beds. And then they have restrooms and showers down here that are shared with the parking shelters, but they are separate. So these areas can be separated and closed off, but there's overflow here between the two if we need to open it up. What else? And then on the site, what we heard is safety, security, and cleanliness. We have more of a residential style fence. We have some strategic planting around the sides that don't have as much visibility to kind of keep people from coming up. And we heard some of the concerns where are people going to be loitering outside of the space, and we're hoping to prevent that with or jumping fences or things like that with some strategic planting around the site. We also have security cameras throughout the site, so there will be 24-hour security on site. We have a security consultant that's helping us place the cameras so we can see every inch of the site at 24/7, 24 hours a day. Anything else? I think that's about it.
Sure. So I'll just chime in a little bit on the services and invite Jessica as well to chime in. I sort of alluded to, I didn't allude. I said that we'll have a 24/7 operator that is CityNet on site. And they provide a whole host of services. They're really tailored to be individually meeting that person's needs. For every single person who's experienced homelessness, their pathway in and their pathway out are going to be very unique and very individualized. So CityNet is responsible not only for day-to-day operations of the shelter, making sure it's clean and there's janitorial and the food is there and all of the sort of managing of a facility. They're also responsible for individualized case management for every single client who is on site. And that could look very, very different depending on the person. For some people, it might be helping them get a job. For some, it might be signing up for SSI or disability benefits. For some, it might be reconnecting with a family or seeking sobriety. And so they'll really manage individualized case plans for everybody. They're also responsible for the security, and they will contract out to a third party. But in addition to their on-site staff, all who are trained in mental health first aid and de-escalation and all those important things that come with the population we're serving, they'll also have a third-party vendor doing security throughout the site, throughout the entire property. They're also responsible for our Homeless Management Information System, which is our community-wide database, entering the data in a consistent way so we can measure the success and look at the outcomes of the program and add that to our sort of community's overall look at some of the data that we're seeing. And then they're also responsible for being, I would call it community liaisons, being available to you if there's questions, meeting with the businesses in the area to make sure that there's no concerns, keeping up the property and being a good neighbor and making sure that the behaviors of the clients on site are also contributing to being a good neighbor. Jessica, is there anything else you want to add about you guys' services? Sorry, you're way down there.
No, I think you covered it all. I mean, exactly what Emily was saying, though. If we have 225 clients, it's going to be 225 solutions. Every client is going to come in and need different services. And our goal is just to bring clients in, give them a place to decompress, to stabilize, and to get them onto their long-term housing placement.
Okay, so that concludes the presentation portion. So now, if you have a question, I know we had some cards back there. Vanessa, Mike. Okay. Do you have any to give me right now? So I'll call, why don't you call out the first few names, Vanessa, so we can start getting people lined up. Oh, we'll start with Jason Wendt. I'm going to put a 3-minute limitation on yours, Jason. Jason, you're up. Just go to the podium there. You can you yield your time to him. Well, I'll give him 3.5 minutes.
Jason.
No, Jason, I'm just kidding. You can.
It's good. I guess I have a couple things. I almost wanted to yield and go toward the end, but really, it's very similar to, I guess, the call to action that I gave last time we were here last year. I get a lot of calls. I'm the executive director of the Watt Avenue Partnership. First of all, hi, I'm Jason Wendt, executive director of Watt Avenue Partnership, also known as the 80 Watt PBID, Property Business Improvement District. I see some other executive directors in here. I see Chris Evans and actually some others. And so, at any rate, so a lot of the calls will come to me, right? A lot of business owners will come through. Jason, there's a safe stay. I heard about this homeless shelter is what it says. There's a homeless shelter. It's coming over here. Oh no, it's going to be a magnet for all kinds of stuff. What's going to go wrong? I'm very appreciative of all of you being here today because it can clarify and add some transparency to what actually is going to be happening. I think when you don't know how it runs, it's easy to get the imagination going and then fear sets in. So I really appreciate all of the panel that's here. I appreciate the supervisors, everybody that's here from the county. Because again, my call to action is always, instead of an I and me, I want to look out for my business and me. We've got to have an us and we mentality. We have to. We just have to. Because there's a lot of business owners here, there's a lot of managers here, and there's residents here. Each one of us plays a role. So I know that if we all can pull together, we can help facilitate the success by any little thing that we can do, whatever resource we can provide, whatever time, whatever knowledge base. And there are meetings, by the way. There are meetings. Each of our little PBA, little districts, we have meetings. Sometimes we're very fortunate enough to have one of these folks on the panel come to those meetings and share directly with the community. So if you see any of those invitations, I highly, highly suggest and encourage you to attend those meetings and then ask some of these questions directly. So again, my call to action is keep an open mind. Let's stay positive. Let's look at how can this work? What can we do to facilitate its success and be a part of the resource base? Yes, there's a lot of questions. Yes, things could go wrong, all that kind of, I get it. But let's look at how can we make this thing work? This is actually happening. A lot of effort and energy has gone into it. And I'm going to tell you personally, the amount of intentionality, if I can use that word, and effort from elected officials, from law enforcement officials, from people that come to my meetings that are boots on the ground, text messages that I'm getting at 10 o'clock at night, they're out there and they're working. They're trying to make this thing work. They're trying to make things get cleaned up. And again, we're dealing with human beings. If we can get them into those services and they can actually become, again, people of dignity, they look in the mirror and they say, I'm proud of who I am today. Yesterday was part of my past. This is a new chapter in my book, and thank you all for their services, and now I can go and do something with myself. That's a good thing. And so I just want to encourage everybody to stay positive, stay in the fight, and let's fight this thing together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. So I'll call out a few names: Dean, Shirley, and then Jason, and then Emily Briggs. And before Dean speaks, I just want to thank you, Jason, because the PBID, the 80 watt PBID, of which Jason is the executive director, they're obviously a big stakeholder along this Watt Avenue corridor, and we have met with them multiple times with their board to discuss what we're doing. But part of the ongoing community outreach that we talk about with this project or any of our safe state communities in the county is not only to meet with the community at large, but to have more specific meetings with stakeholders. And we will continue doing that with you and 80 Watts. So thank you for being here. Dean. Oh, and before, sorry, one more thing, sorry. Before we go any further, I want to also recognize Rosario Rodriguez. She's a city council member in Folsom. She will, in January, be taking over as the District 4 supervisor, replacing Sue Frost. So thank you, Supervisor-elect Rosario Rodriguez, for being here.
My main concern is the safety for the whole entire community. Now, I've reached out to CityNet, and I'm sorry, I'm about to blow you guys up here in a second, about are we gonna be contracting with local companies, which I've never heard back from you, I've sent emails and different things. And if the county's gonna spend this kind of money, 30, 40 million, which we do need, no argument, we need to actually get to our local businesses and allow them to come in and do business there. But we're not doing it, and that's my concern. I hear a lot of flack about, oh, well, we're gonna do it, but no one's ever reached out to anyone. So how many local companies, and doesn't mean Night Watch is anything, it's just how many local companies, I'm looking at a broad of everybody. How many local companies are you using to be a part of this? And that's the whole thing, even in Jason's the P-bid, there's a lot of companies that would love to step up and help out. And and we can keep the money local. Instead of sending the money, if we hire a company from out of state, it goes out of state. So that's my main concern is, what are we gonna do?
I can answer it on my part. Everything that we do in Sacramento is local. We use MIB Security Company. They're a local agency. The food is brought in by VOA. They're a local agency. We shop at your local grocery stores, Walmart, Costco, Smart and Final, all local. We're not ordering things from Amazon and having them brought in. We're doing everything as local as we can. To our point, if we can get our shelters up and running, we want to start growing our own produce to be able to create a produce stand so we could use it in our shelters and to be able to serve it into the community. So everything that we do, we do local. You're right, we are an agency that is based in Southern California, but we're a statewide agency now. So we go wherever the need is, and the need is big, and the need is bigger than nonprofits that are available to do the work. So when Sacramento called and said, would you be willing to come up here? We said yes, and we're invested in this community. Everybody we hired is local from Sacramento. One of the nonprofit agencies when we started up here was going under. They had to go file bankruptcy. They had 200 staff unemployed. We hired over 40 of them. So everybody that is working for us is local in the community, and we try to buy everything local. We don't outsource anything to other counties. Everything is here local.
So are we putting it out for bid, or are we just hiring who we want?
We contact companies, we get 3 bids, and we go with the best company.
Okay.
So if your security company is interested, give me your business card and I'll give you mine and you can send me a bid.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Shirley, you'll be next. And just a reminder, everybody, if you would like to come up and ask a question or make a comment, just raise your hand and staff will bring you one of the speaker slips.
Hi there. Thanks for being here again. And I have to say, I agree with this gentleman here. Jason, is it? I am fully supportive of this program. I have been from the beginning. And I understand what Supervisor Cerner was saying is the point in time count you have to take with a grain of salt. We see the homeless at our North Highlands food bank every week. They're still there. Trust me. But I am concerned. I know that we were here a couple of times before, and the plan originally was to set up, as far as I know, a 30-car space to start with at that site. And I'm not sure what happened to that. It was supposed to, I know that was phase 1. So my question is, what happened to that and why the delay? I'm concerned to hear that the board, it's going back to the board for a vote and then bids and then potential construction start in January. That's over a year away, and could there be more delays? Can you address what's happened?
Yes, I'll turn over to Emily Halcon.
I'll say a little bit about the safe parking and you are right, and then I'm gonna let Natasha talk a little broader about the timeline. So you are correct. So the safe parking has always been an expected component of this program. As Julian said, it's still in this. At one point in time, though, because there was an expectation that the time delay, we did seek to see if we could jumpstart and do the safe parking as a standalone. And as a matter of fact, the county got some grant money for operations of that from the state. Due to a few things, in part, that was just to target some encampments that were that have since moved, but more importantly, the cost to deliver the safe parking as a standalone, with the time that it was going to take just to get that one up and running, get the electricity and all that for the operator, didn't seem prudent, and so we went back to the board and recommended that we still use those funds we got from the state and do it in a different capacity. But the overall timeline, I don't know, Natasha, if you want to say something about that.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna.
Yeah, I could speak. Sorry, did you want to address it now or later?
You
Okay,
can, yeah, you can address the schedule of the
Okay.
project now, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I can speak to the public process. Even when we're any project that we deliver, that the county delivers, regardless of the size, goes through, has to respect the rules of the public contract code. And so that's what we do. It's a public process to be able to design, identify really the needs of the operation, to design for those needs, ensure that, a QA/QC process is being followed, to ensure that those in the design that NOR is compiling and all the specifications, to ensure that our needs as a county is being met, to ensure that it's within, the budget, and to, ensure that all county leadership is involved and has input on the process. It takes time. A public bid, takes time to ensure that all contractors receive that advertisement, that they have an opportunity. There's certain timeframes that we have to abide by per public contracting code. And so from my perspective, as someone that is really ensuring that this process is followed from when we started on this project, there really has been no delays on our side. If there's been other commitments made prior to my division being involved, I don't know if I can speak to that, but we gave an expectation of what this design process looks like and that duration. And as of right now, we're meeting those obligations and that commitment.
So just to be clear, the parking, phase one parking is no longer part of the plan, correct?
Correct.
Or is there any room for that at all? No.
Yeah, correct. We will be opening the site with the cabins. We'll not be opening the parking prior to that.
And I'll just add, thank you, Shirley, and as Emily's coming, I'll just add to that. I mean, the board, we were very eager to activate something on that site in the short term. And like Emily said, we encountered some challenges we did not anticipate. So it made more sense operationally, fiscally, to plan the whole project together and open it up all together. So, Emily.
Awesome, thank you. Supervisors, thank you. First of all, I'm gonna celebrate the win. Thank you for the fixes on Watt Avenue. I am so grateful to drive on Watt Avenue. If you drove here today, the roads are fixed because these guys have been diligent to do it. And sure, they get an earful from a lot of us in the community, but the road on Watt Avenue, if you drive on, is like smooth as butter right there, right up all the way down here. So I'm so grateful, and Ron can attest to that. For every business watch meeting that we do, for every community and sheriff's community meeting that we host on Watt Avenue, it's a win. So thank you, supervisors, for your effort. I know Sue hears from me all the time, so I'm grateful for what you guys do. I had this question at the last meeting, and I don't know that I have it completely answered. We have a safe stay in Florin Road. Is that run by CityNet also? What I don't know is the number of beds and then how many are occupied and how long they've been occupied for. And then the third question is, what is the success rate in putting those homeless people back into the stream, right? So I mean, I think it's great. I think this is great. I hear we have great in San Francisco, but all I hear is I hear great, but I don't see the numbers. Did we turn 10 people back out into the community who are housed, who are working, who have their families? Did we turn 5 people? So we have 20 beds, but the last I heard at one of these houses, these facilities, specifically in Florin Road, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that's why I'm here, is I just want to know how many of those beds are actually filled, because now we're talking about staffing. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week facility, but what if you have no one? What if nobody says yes? I've heard it a lot from the Sheriff's Department. Sergeant Winkle's here. Not everybody says they want services. Ron's implemented the 30-day clean or go to jail program, rehab or go to jail program kind of thing. So I'm just curious. As a resident, I live in Antelope. I do a lot of work. My heart is in the North Highlands community. I advocate for North Highlands, so I just want to know, we're going to put this, it's already in place. We can't change the fact that we're building it. What is going to guarantee that our tax dollars, that people are actually going to be staying in that facility? Because as far as I know, some of them can be empty for a really long time.
So I'll say a couple things, and Jessica, you can definitely add. So both of our 2 safe stays on both Florin and East Parkway are effectively full all the time. East Parkway is 100% full. We have some turnover at Florin, but it's not an issue finding people who need shelter. Our wait list for shelter is about 3,000 people at any point in time. So that is not an issue. Your second question about outcomes. So we actually, and I'm happy to share this, I'm not sure if we can get emails out. We did an update to the board a couple of months ago after 6 months of opening Florin, and shared some data both on the demographics of who was there, some of where they came from, some of the exits. I will caution to say that on average, our community, the exits from any shelter, whether it's a safe stay or anything, unfortunately are way longer than we would like because the housing market is so tight. So on average, it probably takes 8 to 9 months to successfully exit. So at the point in time that we reported to the board, we had only had like 5 or 6 months under our belt. So I want to say that however, my department is about to publish some dashboards, which on a monthly basis will be sharing data. So I don't have it at my fingertips, but what I will say is that my recollection is that Florin site was on par with most of our other shelters, given the state of housing. And I should say that the average, the people we were serving at Florin were a much, much higher vulnerability. So way over 80% of the people entered with 0 income. Most folks were over age of the 55, had multiple disabilities. So the challenges to exits are only that bigger, that much greater. But we're definitely happy to share that report I gave to the board. I think it was 2 months ago now.
Awesome, thank you. That answers my question, because I don't have. Is there a way for us to see that? Like, as a community, we're getting ready to launch this. Is there a way to see kind of your dashboard? Like your reports that you gave to the board. Like, just if you can put that out there, because the organizations that I work with, they do want to know how effective is this? Millions and millions of dollars. We just want to see what is the end result. Nobody's fighting it. Nobody's saying no, we don't want it. We just would like to see what's the end result. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And can you?
It's just directly to Emily. You did a 6-month report, or you can do like a year in August, or just the next?
Yeah, so our commitment on the broader system is that we will have dashboards updated on a monthly basis for all of our programs. We did a 6-month from the date of Florin just because it was something new. But I think I have a commitment as a department head to report back to the board every 6 months. So at the very least, every 6 months, yes.
And so, Emily, I appreciate you bringing that question up. And it's also an incomplete answer when you don't hear about all the investments we're making in permanent supportive housing throughout Sacramento County, and all the changes we're making to our local zoning code and processes and structures to get more affordable housing in Sacramento County as well. And that's all part of this discussion. We need housing throughout the continuum, and it starts with these shelters. So next we'll have Andy, Patty, and then is it Kim Brown? Start with Andy, Davina, and then Patty.
I'm Andy, and I'm a longtime North Highlands resident for, as a kid, but I'm in SAC now. But I'm working with a group called Revive North Highlands. Anyway, I have a quick question about, it seemed like when I was looking at these, you said that there's these different units, but there's only one bathroom for like multiple units. Is that how it went, or am I reading that wrong?
There's approximately 5 bathrooms for each neighborhood. So there's 6 neighborhoods. So there's 30 restrooms. Each one has a shower. They're all ADA compliant for each neighborhood. So 5 for each neighborhood. They also have a laundry facility in each neighborhood. So 6 laundry rooms and 6 community rooms.
One of the questions why I asked that is because some of the people I've talked to that have been homeless, they complain about, one of the big things they complain about is they can't find a bathroom like that feels private. And I can kind of see how that would, you know, especially with women that are in families and stuff like that. So that's just a concern. I just wanted to throw that out there, see if there was, you know.
Sure. There's also additional bathrooms inside the building, inside the facility that are open to the
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat? And by the way, Emily was talking about the roads and whatever. That must be in Antelope. You're not talking about the roads right out here. But we do have a major Complete Streets project coming to repair these roads. I shouldn't even open that door, but anyway.
Hi, everyone. My name is Patty Shaw. I'm with SAC Act, and we are the Housing and Homeless Committee that is here tonight. And I have some questions. Emily is going to understand immediately what I'm talking about because we just had a meeting with her. I see too many elderly people on the street, and it's not because they're drug addicts and then not because they're mentally ill. It's because the rents are too high and they're getting evicted from their homes. I'd like to know from CityNet and anyone else who can answer this question, what are you going to do with the medically vulnerable, the aged people that should never have to spend one night out on the streets? I don't care what their problem is. They're so vulnerable to being attacked and robbed. And so what is the plan for this unit for the medically vulnerable?
Go ahead, Em.
Yeah, no, Patty, I appreciate that. It's definitely a challenge at a system level that we've seen as folks who are experiencing homelessness are aging, and the conditions of living on the street make that aging even harder. A couple of things. So within our homeless system of care, entry into shelters, all shelters, is prioritized based on vulnerability, and age certainly is one of those things. So folks who are experiencing homelessness and are of a advanced age would, on the natural, be prioritized over somebody younger. That being said, the homeless system of care does struggle with some of the higher medical needs because this is not a medical program. There are not medical staff here. And so if a person's unable to take care of their activities of daily living or ADLs, this would not be an appropriate place. That being said, the county has made other investments, which we certainly would have the board chime in on this. Most notably, we have a senior safe house called Natoli's Place, which shelters seniors in danger. Many of them are experiencing homelessness. We also are a partner with WellSpace Health on a recuperative care program, which helps serve folks who are exiting from inpatient treatment and have advanced medical needs. But it is certainly a capacity issue. This will not be able to serve the needs of folks who have such advanced medical needs that they need medical care, but certainly elderly folks will be prioritized here. I don't know if Supervisor Cerna might want to weigh in.
Yeah, thank you. So appreciate the question. Certainly a concern that I think we all share. One of the things that is not just unique to this safe stay, but I am hopeful that it will be a component part of all of our safe stays, all of our continuum of care work, is the fact that with the American Rescue Act plan and the funds that Sacramento County was fortunate enough to derive from the federal government in the amount of, I think, a total of $330 million. One of the appropriations that the first district, our district, made was to work with One Community Health, which is a nonprofit healthcare organization that has clinic space, office space, patient assessment space in downtown Sacramento. But it's not just to have them continue what they're doing there, all the good work that they're doing, especially for the indigent population, but they working in conjunction and partnership with the county using, Lisa, do you remember how the total funding was that we provided? $500,000? I think it was $500,000. $750,000? Where they're going to be embarking on the delivery of a new street medicine program. So you'll literally have nurses, health professionals that are remote and mobile and can go out to different parts of the community. Doesn't matter if it's in one of the 7 cities or the unincorporated county, but it will be kind of a new component part of how we are looking after folks that are unsheltered and helping them get directed to appropriate services, especially if they're in need of medical and mental health and behavioral health services. So that'll be yet another, I think, unique ability of this safe stay to accomplish, is to kind of work with that new model of street medicine and health care services that is immediate and remote. And I think that, in conjunction with what Emily noted, is going to serve everyone very well.
Okay, one last point to that. Once you find people that are medically vulnerable, are you going to put them in a place that can take care of them other than a hospital? Are you going to start building shelters that help the medically vulnerable and the disabled, so they can not just see nurses and doctors on the street, but they can actually be able to lock their doors and have a safe place as well as everybody else?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I will say this has been an issue that's been sort of at the forefront of a lot of conversations in the county, as well as the city of Sacramento recently adopted a regionally coordinated homelessness action plan. And this is exactly one of the, you know this because we talked about this, this is one of the programs that was included in that, is to do a deeper dive into looking at the needs of folks, looking at services, whether it be overlaying IHS in-home supportive services into our sheltering programs. And so there has been a commitment by the city and the county. We don't yet have a funding stream and a program, but a commitment to explore this need, because it is a known gap, right? And so hopefully, as you and I talked about the other day, the report, the outcome of that sort of deep dive will be available to help inform the board's future funding decisions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next, Kim Brown, I think it's Kim. Okay, and then Diane Wolf, and then Colin Wallace, and then Michael Seaman.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions. I hope that's okay. Maybe it'll answer some other people's questions. So the first one was, you said that you were thinking of being able to provide produce. So I wanted to know, is there space for a community garden here on this site?
Yeah, so that was one of our design concepts, was in these open areas throughout the safe stay community where the tiny homes are, is to have some garden areas for people to garden and grow vegetables and fruits and things to use either in the facility or to share with the local community.
The other is, how long is a typical residency for the residents?
Jessica, do you want me to answer that, or?
I mean, either, it doesn't matter. I mean, we try to be a 90 to 120 day program, but unfortunately, housing isn't as available as we would like it to be. So the stays are extending at this point. So we really are encouraging the clients to work with us on their long-term housing plan. So we're kind of at the mercy of the market, and trying to find employment and also trying to find units that are available. So, the county has given us grace to be able to work with the clients.
Okay.
And as long as they're working towards a housing plan, adjust the length of their stay.
Okay. And then who are the residents? Are they families? Are they single men, single women? Are they the chronically homeless? Are they veterans?
Yeah.
Who are they?
That's a great question. I apologize to say it. So this shelter is designed to serve adults, so no children here, but those adults could present as singles, they could present as couples. We've seen adult children with their parents, and certainly the population will include chronically homeless folks, veterans, seniors, what we call transition age youth, which is technically an adult, but 18 to 24. So the only limitation is we can't serve children at this site, minors.
And then how do you deal with mental health issues when it arises within the residency, if there's conflict? How do you guys deal with that?
Jessica, I'll let you talk about what you do day to day, and then maybe I'll talk about heart a little bit.
And with that question too is, how do you deal with that? But also, if they don't comply to the rules and regulations, because maybe you're dealing with some mental health issues, then what's the outcome?
Yeah. So all of our staff are trained in mental health CPR, de-escalation, harm reduction. So they're all trained to be able to sit down with someone if they're having, an episode and calm them down. We will work with them, if they're breaking the rules. We don't want to just kick somebody out because they're having, outbreaks, screaming and those types of things. So we're going to work with the individual and just give grace to everyone and kind of and handle each case as a case by case, conferencing with our team. We don't want to just exit people because they're experiencing mental health or even substance abuse. We want to work with them on getting services to get them to be feeling better so that they're feeling more comfortable in the community so we can work with them on their long-term housing plan.
Okay.
And
But-
can I add one more?
I'm gonna interrupt because what was just mentioned, including substance abuse, there's a big asterisk on that one. You're not gonna be welcome to enjoy your narcotics on site. You're not gonna be welcome to bring and solicit drugs and drug activity on site.
Yeah, there will be no activity on site, but if somebody comes on, we want to be able to help them get to services. So anybody that's going to come in with any type of condition, our main objective is going to get them connected to long-term services.
Okay, so that's a segue into my next question. So if something does arise to where an individual just continually breaks the rules, then what's the process for them exiting? Is there a process set up so that it's not just where it's a continuous circle of them getting into a program, exiting a program, getting into another program?
Emily, do you want to take that one from the county perspective?
Sure. I want to back up though, and also I neglected to talk about our other partnership with my sister department with the health services, and they provide behavioral health and substance use treatment services through the county. And they have a team called the HEART team, which is outreach professionals, clinicians, and peer navigators who currently work with our sergeant as well as with our outreach teams with folks experiencing homelessness and engage people, enroll people directly into behavioral health services. They come to all of the shelter sites as well. So this will be a site that the HEART team will be visiting regularly. And what we have seen is that the HEART team's uptick and success rate when people at the shelters is way higher than the teams going out into encampments, which makes sense because your daily needs are met. You don't have to worry about where you're going to eat or where you're going to lay your head. And so the HEART team will also be overlaid as an additional resource for CityNet. They're not clinicians necessarily, but we'll be partnering them with licensed clinicians. On the exit, we are very cognizant that we do not have an impact on the community. So if people do reach that point of having to be exited, then we expect there's every expectation to return them to a place that is safe, where they came from, maybe back to a family member, back to where they were camping, providing bus tickets, etc. There's also the ability, if there is a moment of somebody coming in intoxicated, that they can go to a day center to rest that off and come back. So people are not locked in, so they can walk away. But CityNet and the county are very committed that when people do choose to self-exit or have to exit, that they're not just sort of opening the gate and walking away. And so that is, it's unique with every single person, but that's a strong commitment we have.
Thank you. Emily, so Cam, I'm going to ask you, we have a few other people that have questions.
Okay.
So, but everybody's going to be here afterwards.
only
So
have
please,
two
I'm going to ask you
more.
to yield the microphone to Diane, please.
You mind if I
Next
ask
person.
just 2 more questions?
No, we're already
No,
over
okay,
on time.
that's fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
But everybody will be here afterwards to
ask.
answer these very, very specific
Thank you.
questions. Great questions.
Thank you.
Too, by the way. Thank you. Diane. And then Colin, and then Michael.
So given that the absence of available affordable housing is a barrier to moving people through CityNet Safe Stay, and yet there are 3,000 people on the waiting list, and the Safe Stay communities can be put up, I think, faster and cheaper than affordable housing. I wonder if there's been any consideration to actually putting up some Safe Stay communities that would just intend to have people be there longer, like, just 2 or 3 years, have it be a community, so that there isn't this kind of push of you're supposed to be leaving, but you can't leave because there isn't anywhere for you to go.
I love that idea, and I'll pass it on to the county to answer that. Yeah, but yes, we understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear you, Diane. We're working against a market that's very difficult. At this point, we're not limiting people, as Jessica said. They can stay as long as they need to find housing, but there hasn't been conversation about sort of building building safe stays with the intention of it becoming long-term housing. First of all, it doesn't meet housing. I mean, they're not, you couldn't like overlay a voucher on them. They don't have their own restroom and stuff. But again, the more people we can move out, even if that movement takes 9 months, it's still another space for somebody else. So sort of starting with the intentionality that somebody's gonna be here for 3 years, on day one, we're full for the next 3 years. And so we'd certainly love to see that movement happen quicker, but we're not pushing people out. But at this point, our safe stays are intended to be as short of a stay as needed. Those stays, unfortunately, are much longer than probably any of us would like.
Thank you. Colin.
My name is Colin Wallace. I'm the General Manager for Public Services. I'm sorry. My name is Colin Wallace. I'm the General Manager for Republic Services. We are the owner and operator of a recycling facility across the street, and we will be a neighbor to this facility here. At Republic, we understand that homelessness is a crisis that's not only affecting this community, but communities up and down the state. I just want to first thank the county and the staff and the consultants for all the work they're doing here. We also recognize that we need to be part of the solution and that these services and accommodation for the homeless population is a need. And I really just want to, I don't have a question, but I really want to just echo Jason's comments that we want to be good community partners, and we're happy to help in anything we can do. And we want to help this, we want to make sure this succeeds and make sure this is done the right way. So I just want to thank you everyone again and just extend our support. Thanks.
Thank you, Colin. And yes, as Republic Services being right on the south side of Winona, I believe it is, you will be another one of those stakeholders that we will be having ongoing discussions with. Because if problems do happen, it would be likely to affect your business, surrounding businesses the most. So thank you for your comments. Michael. And then the last one after Michael will be Wayna.
I want to thank the supervisors for doing this. I know the project's not a panacea. It's basically a gated community for unhoused people. And it's an example of trying to do the responsible thing of area-wide service delivery. So thank you for that. I wish the project well. I have confidence in Emily and her department to do a good job. I'm especially happy that you're going to have data dimensions about this. And maybe this is a model that you can replicate elsewhere in the county. But I'm concerned about the long term. The guests at this facility are going to transition into what? The county has basically failed at economic development. Its mantra has been laissez-faire, and there's no vision for the community, at least for the developed, already long-time developed unincorporated community. And well, let's face it, counties are not good at providing housing. That's what cities do. The counties also failed at code enforcement in many instances. Our community is loaded with low-end apartments and businesses. We can't have nice things. We can't even have fundamental things like sidewalks on our major streets and functional transit. And meanwhile, the county promotes sprawl and market rate development in the hinterland that adds infrastructure complications and cost while letting the existing unincorporated areas rot. So this is a good thing you're doing. I applaud you for doing that. I wish it well, but I'm really concerned about the rest of the story. Thank you.
So just want to chime in and respectfully but strongly disagree with the last speaker on some of his points. First of all, the claim that somehow Sacramento County doesn't care about economic development, I think, is laughable. If you look at what we have been doing countywide, not just in one neighborhood or a collection of neighborhoods, we're staying extremely competitive. Case in point, look at Metro Air Park. Metro Air Park is right next to the Sacramento International Airport. You probably noticed buildings coming out of the ground monthly over there. So far, there are 9,500 to almost 10,000 new jobs since 4 years ago. It's a growing area in terms of not just distribution activities, but also R&D. And we're actually getting some high-tech interests that are showing that they want to be in the Sacramento County market. And it's putting people to work. In fact, I was just whispering to my colleague here, Supervisor Desmond, that one of the things that perhaps we might want to look into, and perhaps others smarter than me on this panel are already doing so, is because we're doing the housing on the exterior of what is a warehouse site here, there might be some opportunities to do some employment training inside. For instance, maybe getting people ready to take that new distribution center job out at Metro Air Park, get them trained here while they're getting stabilized out of their situation of homelessness. And wouldn't it be great if we could not just send them away with the ability to use a voucher, but also have, put them in front of a potential employer that is going to pay, a decent wage for someone that perhaps didn't get that college degree or what have you. So again, the claim that somehow we are ignoring economic development just does not sit well with me, especially given all that we are doing. And I would encourage everyone to understand what we do as a county. We're a big county. It's not just North Highlands. And I think we're making some very, very good progress on the economic development front. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Cerna. So the last comment, I said it's Wayne, right? Okay, Wayne. Let's make it a good one.
Bring us home.
I appreciate it, and thank you.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
Great way to end. Okay, I got a couple of quick questions. From the designer side of the fence, the fence that you're going to put, this wooden fence, which looks nice, is that going to go around the whole parameter of the whole facility?
Yes. That's on 3 of the 4 sides. It's on the west, the south, and the east side.
I don't know which ones those are. Can you?
So it's the left, the bottom, and the right of the site. The red dash line. Yep. Exactly.
That's the
No, Myrtle's this on the south. Yes, that's chain link fence on the north side. Yes.
In good condition.
Enough, I hope. But next question is, you mentioned you're going to have cameras and really good security inside the facility.
Correct.
What are you going to do around the parameter of the outside of the facility for extra security?
That's still under development with our security consultant. We're about halfway through the construction document phase. And so we'll be addressing all the security issues as we move along. This process has been extremely truncated. Normally, this would take about a year to design, and we've truncated it to about 4 months.
But there will be exterior security.
I believe so.
Yeah, and in addition to the built security, the security contract that CityNet has, the people, security guards, and their expectation is to, monitor the exterior and the interior. So there'll be a presence of security personnel.
We're right there next to the building, and I just, what's going to happen there? And then my final question is in the parking lot, you have the front, I guess it's not the Myrtle side, the other side of that street where you're going to put all the little buildings. On the left side of the building, it's like a big empty parking lot. Is that going to stay an empty parking lot?
No, that's for the Safe Stay residents. If they have a vehicle, they can park it there. So if they have to leave for the day and they do have a vehicle, they can.
But they don't live in that vehicle.
No. The Safe Stay parking is just for overnight guests, and that's on the southeast side. It's completely fenced off and secured, and they will also have access to showers and washing machines and food inside of the building.
Thanks, Wayne. I encourage you to stick around too afterwards if you have additional questions. That brings us to the end. I'll turn it to my colleagues here to see if they have any closing thoughts before we finish up.
No, none other than thank you all for being here again and contributing and giving us your questions and your insights and your concerns. And again, this is, it's not a case that we've got our mind made up about a lot of this. I go back to my earlier comment. This is a real kind of dynamic situation. We're trying to stay flexible and nimble when we might come across a challenge or two on occasion as the site constraints maybe give us some heartburn on occasion. We're always going to be thinking not just as your local government trying to check a box and do something about homelessness. We're going to try and be as responsive as we can to meet multiple objectives, some of which have been repeated here tonight multiple times, including balancing the impacts, the concerns of local residents, as well as being compassionate towards those that are in the most need in our community. And I, for one, am not of the opinion that they're mutually exclusive. We can do both, and we should do both. And in fact, I think the success of this safe state community will ultimately be measured by this group and perhaps and hopefully a larger group saying maybe 3, 5, 10 years from now, it was the right thing to do. It was right by the community. It was right for the people that needed the help. And that we could all look back on this and say it was a good team effort that involved not just Sacramento County, but those that we serve. Thanks.
I just want to thank everyone for coming. I'm really excited to see Rosario Rodriguez, supervisor-elect here. So if you haven't met your next supervisor for District 4, she'll begin her term in January 2025, early January. So thanks for being here, Rosario. And she's really passionate about the homeless situation as well, I know. I wanted to say that I won't repeat all the good things that were stated by Supervisor Cerna, but I also wanted to add that I really appreciate CityNet because I love the way they're partnering with locals. They're hiring locally. There are local organizations, nonprofits. If you're in the room, there might be ways for you to partner or augment what's happening with the safe stays. I wanted to point out that the safe stay is just, it seems really big. It is big, but it's just a small cog in the huge, comprehensive homeless plan that the county has. And there's, it's comprehensive in that it's covering so many different aspects of the human condition. And not just limited to drugs and alcohol and mental illness, but spiritual, physical, mental, job training, the list goes on. And I want to thank all the partners that have helped along the way, and especially the extraordinary team that the county has put together under you folks. Thank you for everything you've done, and I'm really excited. I know it's taking longer than we hoped, but it seems a year goes by pretty quick, so it's coming. Thank you, everyone.
And I'll just finish up by again thanking all of you for being here. And I would really encourage you also. I mean, so many topics that people raise here today are part of other efforts that are linked to what we're doing here, but they are all necessary in helping us get a handle on this crisis and improving it. And I think we have already seen some improvements, but we got to keep our foot on the accelerator and keep doing more. But I would encourage you to either attend a board meeting or watch a board meeting online. Sometimes it's worse than watching paint dry, but you'll get a better sense of, I think, the kind of the scope of the issues that we're tackling. All issues, again, that are interrelated to what we're trying to accomplish here. So it's important to see everything kind of in context. And with that, again, we'll also echo the thanks to staff and our partners here. I think we have the good fortune of, I certainly have the good fortune of serving with wonderful colleagues on the board, but we have a terrific staff in Sacramento County. Emily has several members of her staff out here. Supervisor Cerna and Frost and I all have our staff members out here as well. Who am I missing? Clerk of the board. Oh, the clerk of the board staff as well here for putting this together. Thank you. The last thing the clerk of the board ever wants to hear is that we want to do a remote meeting because it's a lot of work for them. So thank all of you for being here. I see Alma and Lydia back there. I'm sure certainly there are others. So thank all of you for being here. We will all be sticking around for a while to answer more questions, and then we will be having, don't know when yet, but we will certainly be having additional community meetings before this opens. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.